Well, hi all. My name is Emily, and I'm going to be talking to you about a very special oil today. It's called frankincense, and I'm sure many of you have heard of it. And it's one of the oils that my family uses on a regular basis, sometimes daily, just depending on the season. And so I'm really excited to be sharing with you about some of the many uses for it that we use in our household and ways that you can use it in yours. But before I get into all of that, I wanted to back up and share with you a little bit about the history of frankincense and some of the ways that it's been used over the centuries and about how doTERRA sources it. So I'm sure that many of you have probably heard about frankincense in regards to the New Testament story of the wise men visiting Jesus and how they brought him 3 precious oils, one of them being frankincense. It's actually referred to as the king of oils. I don't know if that's because of that story, but it's also probably referred to that because of the many uses, and that's probably one of the reasons why the wise men chose to bring it to Jesus. It dates even further back beyond the New Testament to the ancient Babylonian and Assyrian times, where they used frankincense to burn for their religious ceremonies, and even the ancient Egyptians used it to make perfume and to make salves to soothe skin. And so it's been used for centuries and centuries, and it's proven its effectiveness over time. Even today, there are hundreds of published studies about the effects of frankincense for a variety of issues, and I'll get into some of those uses in a minute. But I also wanted to share with you how doTERRA sources their oils and where they source them from. So doTERRA sources their frankincense from the boswellia tree in the countries of Somalia, Ethiopia, and Oman. And one thing I didn't know before I did a little bit of research to share with you today was that it takes about a pound of resin from one of these trees to produce one 15 milliliter bottle of frankincense. And actually, the trees themselves each only produce a few pounds of resin each year. So really, one tree might only be responsible for 6 to 10 bottles of frankincense each year. And so that's really fascinating when you think about how many trees it makes to produce all of this oil that we use. But another fun fact is that those trees, if well cared for, can produce resin for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I think that's pretty cool. And it'd be interesting to think about, the tree that produced this bottle of oil and maybe how old it is and how many years has it been producing resin. doTERRA uses a steam distillation process to produce the oil from the resin, and so they do that in those 3 countries that I mentioned. Like I said, there's been hundreds of published studies about the benefits of frankincense, and it would take me literally all day probably to go over all of the different benefits. So I'm just going to share with you some of the ways that my family uses frankincense, and like I said, sometimes we use this oil daily in our home, just depending on what's going on. One of the first uses for frankincense that we used it for in our home was for headaches. My husband has terrible migraines, and I suffer from hormonal headaches, and so we experimented a little bit with frankincense, and we use it in combination with peppermint and lavender, and we put it in a roller bottle and roll it right on our temple or the back of the neck. Sometimes my husband even layers it with past tense, which is another tension blend that doTERRA has, and uses it with his migraines. Another big use that we've used frankincense for is to help with sleep. One of my daughters struggles with some nightmares and had some went through a phase of sleep terrors, and we used frankincense combined with lavender and vetiver in her diffuser each night, and it really cut back on the sleep issues that she was having, and she had much more restful sleep. And even now it's been about a year and a half since she had those issues. There's occasional nights where she just really has a hard time staying asleep or falling asleep, and so we'll just put a few drops of frank and lavender in her diffuser, and she really is able to go to sleep and stay asleep the rest of the night. Another thing that we've used frankincense for is for skin blemishes. I feel like after I hit 30, I was ready to start looking for some things to use on my skin that would help with wrinkles and some of the hormonal acne that I still get sometimes. And frankincense has been really great for that. And it has also been useful very recently for me with some scarring. I had a cut that I got on Christmas Day this year that I had to get some stitches for, and I've been using frankincense applied directly to my skin to help with some of that scarring, to help fade that scar mark. And actually, that brings up a good point that frankincense is very safe to use neat, which means directly on the skin, undiluted. I often dilute it just to help stretch the oil a little bit when I use it in different blends or in the diffuser. But it is safe to apply neat and as well internally and aromatically. One of the ways that my family uses it internally is we use it often for immune support. I have an autoimmune disorder, and I use this oil especially in flare-ups. I'll put it in a capsule and take it internally or put a drop under my tongue to help with some inflammation and flaring during my symptoms. And then we'll use it too when we're coming down with a cold or a flu at home. We'll use it in combination with a couple other oils, which in what we call a flu bomb. We put it in a roller bottle, and it's frankincense, lemon, oregano, On Guard, and tea tree oil. And we'll use that when we're fighting something off in our household to help with that immune defense. And then another time or way that we've used frankincense in our home is for emotional balance. So there's been studies that show the effectiveness of frankincense to help with depression and anxiety. And in our house, I sometimes just use it when I need just a little bit of extra support, either from stress or circumstances going on that I just feel like I need that little bit of extra emotional support to get through the day. And so you can apply it under your tongue or take internally in a pill capsule or even diffuse it. It has a very peaceful and grounding aroma. So again, those are just a couple of the ways that we use frankincense in our home, and I hope that if you have not tried doTERRA's frankincense oil yet, that you'll add it to your next order. And if you do, hopefully you've got some new ideas for how you can incorporate it into your home. I hope you have a great day.